Hello, I'd like to welcome you to an introduction of Benchmark Universe. The purpose of the webinar is so that you can feel confident getting onto Benchmark Universe, getting your students on Benchmark Universe, exploring the program, and getting to know it a little bit better and how you can use it in your instruction. So with that, you should see the login page. Most of you will log into Benchmark Universe by going to new.benchmarkuniverse.com. However, some of you may have specific URLs for your district or school. With that, all students and teachers log into Benchmark Universe at the same page. You'll put in your username and password. Underneath this, there are two more places I want to show you. First is your system check. Because Benchmark Universe is web-based and we're going from computer to computer, Chromebook, laptop, I want to be sure that you do go through and do the system check whenever you are having problems within Benchmark Universe. Sometimes it's that just as easy as your pop-ups have been disabled on that computer. The other item is the forgot password. If you ever forget your password, your students do, you can have it reset by going through the steps here, or if you just want to change your password, this is the best way about going through that. With that, we're going to go ahead and sign in to Benchmark Universe. You'll also see below that there is the contact information for our Benchmark technical support team, which are absolutely phenomenal, and we'll be able to help you with anything that you're really having troubles with. All right, so you'll see the dashboard. This is very similar to anything that we're seeing on computers right now, the tiles and apps. You will be spending most of your time here in the library. Your dashboard and your students' dashboards will look very similar. You'll have most of the same tiles. And depending on your subscription type, if you're on the ebook offer, or if you have Benchmark Literacy, you may or may not have some of the tiles. But what we're going to spend our time in today is primarily going to be that library so that you feel comfortable getting on and using that resource. The other tiles I'll just briefly explain to you. The messages, this is so that teachers and students can message each other back and forth. There is not student-to-student communication on this as of now. This is just merely kind of a raise your hand. The students can say, hey, I need help with this, or the student or the teachers can reach out to students and say, hey, this is a great book, I think you need to read it, or you have a new assignment, or you have an assignment coming up that I need you to work on. The Assignments tab, we'll get into how to assign books and book projects a little bit later in the library, but this is where all of those assignments are then housed, and we'll take a look at that later as we go through. Book reviews, this is another key point that we will look at today, but this is where you can actually go in and write a review of a book. Students can write a review, and like I said, we'll be discussing that more as we go through the program today. Underneath that, you'll see this Manage Students tab. This is where teachers can go in and create groups of students. You may want to group your students by levels, by interests, by math groups. Students can be placed in as many groups as would be helpful for you. And then the other tile that I do really want to point out is this Help tile. This is where you will find, I'm going to go ahead and click on it right now, it's going to actually open up a new tab, all of your Benchmark Universe help. So videos, short videos on each of those tabs that we just, or tiles that we just looked at, as well as teacher guides. So you have all those resources here for you. And then there is the Benchmark blog that has wonderful little articles that have been written by Benchmark staff. Some are about, using technology in the classroom and how can you enhance that instruction, and just in your spare time, there's a lot of great stuff on there I do encourage you to look at. So with that, we are going to go into the library. All right, so as my library is loading, I'm actually going to scroll down to look at the ebooks because this is what most of you will have come up into your program. Again, it's just based upon the type of subscription that you have. All right, so you can see in the middle here, we can scroll down, and this is called the infinite scroll. So if I just keep on scrolling, there are, over 2,000 books for me to go through and look at. You'll notice if you have benchmark books in your school presently, you'll start to recognize our covers and the series that they belong to. So these with the gold band are part of our Readers Writers Genre Workshop. You'll start to see, I see one right now, I'm going to scroll down and just kind of point it out. This is part of our Readers Theater series. So as you just scroll down, I do encourage you just to look and explore all of our books. And we're going to go ahead and scroll back up because we don't have time to go through all of the books every time to find that perfect book for instruction. There are several ways to filter out the books. On the left-hand column, you will see our levels. Okay, so you can go ahead and search a book by book level. So we could say, oh, we need L, M, and N books. And as we're doing that, it's pulling the books. So we have 500 books that all are part of that criteria. We can also scroll down, and you may want to find books by Lexile. So by moving these toggles, these blue toggles on the bottom, it'll narrow your Lexile level. Today we just want to look at our ebooks, and I want English. You can see we have a wealth of Spanish books on here as well for your instruction. And then you can even narrow down to the content area, so science books. So let's just go up here and let's see how many science books we have on L, M, and N. So we have 61 ebooks here loaded that all meet that criteria. But if we want to even narrow that search more or filter down, I do encourage you to go onto this all filters. So you can see here's all the search criteria we've put in here. To take away or alter any of this at any time, you can just click off and say, okay, that Lexile doesn't really matter. And you can change, take off that level. But let's say I also want to, because I'm teaching across the content area, I also want to work on a comprehension strategy. So let's see, I'm also going to look at drawing conclusions. You may also, maybe you want to look up the books by genre type or series. So let's say you have our Early Explorers books in your classroom. You could go ahead and click on that. Or if you have a catalog in front of you and you're like, oh, I want to really see what these Alphabet Animal Friends books look like. And those are at our lower level. And you can go ahead and click on it and so you can preview because our ebooks look exactly what our books look like in the classroom. So it's a great way to just explore more of our collections as well. All right, so now that I have all of these are called breadcrumbs. That's my new technology word. We have all of these are all of our search criteria. If I have that all completed, I can click on Submit here on the bottom. Okay, and I have 3 books that are going to hit this criteria. You may also see up at the top, you could also put in for a title. So if you know a specific book, let's say you've gone to the book room, you've pulled a book, you want some of your students to look at the book digitally, you can go ahead and search for it, the title right here. You could also put in a keyword. So, if we know we're going to be looking at communities next week, you may, just type in communities and see what comes up. Or President's Day is around the corner. That's a great way to search as well. So with that, you don't want to go through this every time that I'm trying to look for science books that are going to deal with drawing conclusions. So what you want to do is you want to create a bookshelf. Over here on the right hand side, you'll see the Add New Bookshelf. You're just going to go ahead and click on that. You can have as many bookshelves as you want to, so I do encourage you to be as specific as you can with the type of your bookshelf name. So let's see, this is Science MN, and we're going to look at Drawing conclusions. You may just want to make a bookshelf for different levels of books so you can very quickly just dump in level L books there and then assign your level L books to your level L students just to give them kind of a little library to work within. This is also a great way you could create a bookshelf and then very easily create an assignment of books for summer reading, really to beef up that reading because your students will have access to this over all throughout the year because it's URL based. All right, so now that we have created a bookshelf, now we need to get the books in the bookshelf, which is so easy. All you have to do is click and drop that book. Once it's highlighted, you drop it there and you can see we now have one book in this bookshelf. Once again, you're just going to click and drop it over there. And so instantly I have a bookshelf with 3 books on it. You can see down here the number of books on each bookshelf is on the right-hand side. At any point in time, I can dump any of these books into any of the bookshelves. So if, this might be a really great title for a different drawing conclusions bookshelf, I can go ahead and click and drop that. As long as it's highlighted, that's where it's going to go. All right, so what I have done is I have now created a bookshelf. So if we just quick, loop back and see what we've done, we have filtered out books. We have created a bookshelf, and then the next step, what many of you will be interested in, is then going forward and creating an assignment. So to start over and to go back, I just want to show you that. You can click on here. All right, we're back at the beginning, and now we want to move forward with creating that assignment. We're going to look at our communities bookshelf here, okay, because we're going to be looking at communities with our students next week. Right now, the bookshelves tab is highlighted. What I want to do is I'm going to click over here and click on the assignments tab. I'm going to create a new assignment. So this is going to be our communities introduction. All right, materials assigned. I can dump in as many materials as I want to in an assignment. Once again, it's as easy as clicking on the books and dragging them over onto our assignments tab. Great thing about this is your students can really do some cross-text analysis work, so you can have students digging into different books, looking at them, comparing at them. And for the purposes today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let my students self-select which of the books that they would like to read within the assignment. This is also where what you could do is you could, specifically have a bookshelf, with the leveled books or like some summer reading interest books. Put them all in here and just assign them all this way to all of your students. And you can rotate and you can edit these throughout the year. So, you can have a new group in here. You can, as a student gets to be a level, reading level, then you can assign them this assignment with these books. So there's just a lot of way that you can use these assignments to work with your students. The next thing you'll see is the audio. Our books are actually all read by actors and actresses. I didn't realize how important this was until I started listening to other books and how monotone they are. This is a great way for students to hear native speakers and get that feel of reading and fluency and just kind of hear how the books should be read. But sometimes our students don't need to have that crutch and have that ability to just listen to the book, and they need to get them pushing and reading those books on their own. So you do have the availability to click it on or off. You also, and we'll look at it later, have the ability within the assignments tab to differentiate for your students. So maybe some students will get that audio and others won't. All right, then you're going to write your instructions. So next, you'll type them here in the box in the instructions tab. You'll just type your instructions, what you want your students to do. So, next week we're going to be looking at communities, and before Monday, I would like you to read the 2 of the books and come to class prepared to discuss 2 things you've learned about communities. The next thing you'll do is you'll select your students. Okay, so narrow down to your class. Like I said, you may have your students in here. You might have groups. You may also, so here are all my students in this class. I may also have them in groups, so I could pick a whole group of students. We're going to do the Cardinals and the Lions. You could also go over here and just select other students' names that you also want to do that assignment. Like I said, you can add students, take away students at any point in time. You can see below here all the students. Maybe you don't want Aldo to do this assignment, so you can click them off of it. And then just be sure that you hit done. You'll see all of your students who will get this assignment down below in blue. The next thing you want to do, that you have to do, is do a start date. So you can't do a start date prior to today's date. And we're going to go ahead and keep this open for a couple weeks because they're going to do some preparation for next week, but maybe somebody's going to be out next week, and so this is a great way to, get them involved and do more with it. And then be sure that you click Save. All right, we're going to scroll up as this is saving. All right, so now it is saved, and on that start date is when the students will receive a notification that they have a new assignment. Students are not able to see that assignment on their side of things until the date that it has been assigned. All right, so just kind of reviewing and going back, we're going to go back to the main page of the library. We have done the filters on the left-hand column. We've created a bookshelf. We've looked at assignments. But now let's actually spend some time looking at our books. All right, so we're going to scroll down here. And let's see. We are going to look at a book here. We're going to look at this one on Cape Town. So it's simply, if I click on the book, it's going to open the book. So that I can actually preview it, I can read it, I could actually customize it right from here. So it's going to load the whole book. For right now, I'm going to say no, I don't want to customize it because I just want to kind of look at it and see if this is the book that I want to use for my instruction. You can see as I'm quickly tabbing through here and turning the pages, this looks exactly what the book does in print. So in the front cover, you're going to have, some of that pre-reading stuff, some more stuff about the book. And then you can scroll through the pages just by clicking on that bottom corner. And yeah, just take a preview of that book. We're going to go back though, because the book actually has some other tools I do want to show you about. If you click on the gear here in the lower right-hand corner, you can open that book straight from here. But there's another tab here, more information. If you click on that tab, you will see here's all the information, what level the book is, what part of the series was this book originally authored for. You can also read it from here. You can also review and share. So, this is cool for instruction. You could say, hey, I used this book with my students. They really liked this part of the book, or I used it to teach, a certain skill. This is a great way for you to share. The other 2 important pieces is when we get ready, if we sit down with a book to plan to use that book for instruction, we pull out our teacher's guide. We pull out that comprehension card. So we can also do this all digitally. On the left-hand column, you will see here is where our teacher's guide and our comprehension cards are actually loaded. So I'm going to click on that. Here's going to come the teacher's guide. It's a PDF, so you can print it. So if you're using the book, the actual hard copy book in your school, and maybe 2 of you need to teach from that book and need the teacher's guide, you actually have it all right here. You can also pull up the comprehension card. Like I said, I like to pull up both of these to use as I'm planning to use this book for instruction, just like I would plan with paper. So I have both of those up. You will see that this is exactly what our teacher's guides look in print. Everything, objectives at a glance. You can see how you could use this in your classroom for multiple reasons. We even use it for a science or a social studies lesson. Maybe I'm going to go back and use it for a certain comprehension skill down the road. All right, so with that, we are going to click out of there. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, we're going to click on the gear here. Okay, so you can open it, more information. You could add it straight to an assignment straight from here or a bookshelf. And then once again, you have that tab for reviews. Your students actually also have the ability to write a review, which is cool because they can respond to what they've read. The students' reviews come to you first as the instructor to review before you let them go out. So it's kind of a watch guard for you to make sure everything is appropriate that's going out. But this is a great way to get them involved and, like I said, respond to what they've read. All right, so we're going to open the book. Okay, once again, it's going to ask us if we want to customize the version. Now we are going to customize because I'm going to show you how you can, put in sticky notes, highlight, and use this. You can customize the book as many times as you want to for different purposes. So once again, I encourage you to be as specific to your titles as possible. So the customization is going to be social studies, or let's just say content, South Africa Open. All right. Yes, we're going to save it. All right, you'll notice something just happened with our screen. It now looks like we have graph paper here. This is my quick visual cue that I'm actually in edit mode and I'm able to put in sticky notes, highlight. When I'm at edit mode, I can change anything as I go. If I would toggle over to presentation mode by clicking on this button, you still have the ability to do some of the highlights and stuff, but you are not able to save it. So this is great because you could have a whole version marked up, use it on your smartboard. We do encourage you to use our tools rather than your smartboard tools because they don't really communicate well and work together well. So we encourage you to use the tools within the program. But your students can come up and highlight and, mark through stuff, change things, but then you'll go back to your clean version because none of that will save if you are in presentation mode. Likewise, you toggle back to edit mode by clicking on the little tools right here. Up at the top of the screen, this is where you could actually listen to the read aloud version. So you want to be sure that your students do know where to utilize that. You also have the option right there to click it off. The next tab is the annotations button. So maybe you're doing close reading with your students on the sides of the books. Students can actually take close reading notes right here, which is a great tool. If for some reason that's too much of a distraction for your students and you want to turn it off, you can also do that right there. A print button, this is so that you are able to actually print off your notes that you've put into in your edits. This will not print your book into a nice little foldable that we kind of get used to as teachers, but this does just simply print off any notes that you print in here. And then the next, perhaps the most important, is this save button. As you're working through here and editing and changing things, you do want to be sure that you're periodically going through here and editing. All right, at the bottom of the screen, if you click on the little arrow, you're actually going to see the page spreads of the book. So you can quickly toggle over to a new page that you're going to use for instruction. All right, you will also see these little plus signs here. I was kind of confused with this. You can actually add in a page. So you can see this is a kind of text-heavy book. If I want to put in stopping points for my students to stop, maybe you're using it as a nightly reading. I want you to read the first 3 pages. Maybe you want to add a page here for them to go back, review, answer some questions about what they've read. You could put in a new page. Another really neat thing that you can do with this is that you could actually put in a video page. So maybe I found a really cool video on TeacherTube about Cape Town, and I want them to visually see that. I could put in that URL right here into my instruction. So there's a lot of ways that you could actually go in and utilize those extra pages. All right, so we're going to cancel out of that. All right, our tools are here on the right. If you click on the little wrench, you'll see, we have our little pen to underline. We have sticky notes, we have shades. A fun thing to do that I like to do at the beginning of a unit is actually to have the cover up. And I'm going to pull this shade, and I actually like to go ahead and block out the title. And so then we read through the book. Students guess at what a title is before by just looking at that cover. From looking at the cover, they may think this book is about some little village in Finland. So they would write what they think this book is going to be about, what might be a title. After we've read the story, they may they may want to edit what they think it is. And then if you go over to presentation mode, they can click on it, and there's the title revealed. So that's kind of a fun little tool that we have utilized in here. Another thing that we have is sticky notes available for you to type in there. So earlier we put in those PDFs, excuse me, of our teacher's guide and our comprehension card. I can go ahead and pull over here. This is one of my favorite things to do. As you can see, I have a question right here to pose my students. It's on page 19. I can actually go ahead and copy the text of this, go over into my book. That was on page 19. I'm going to scroll over to find page 19. All right, click on it. And let's say all my comprehension questions are orange, because I have an anchor chart about that in my classroom. I can actually put an orange sticky right here and paste directly from my teacher's guide or from my comprehension question in here, so that when I'm doing my instruction, all I have to do is click on that sticky and there's my card, so I'm not fumbling with other resources. Okay, so I do encourage you just to get in here, utilize the books, and just play around with it. A good thing to do, like I said, is go through here, highlight, go over to the presentation mode then, and do a quick look through, run through, make sure everything's running like you want to. If you're going to be doing it on the smart board, it's great to look through and make sure all those colors are visually able to be seen. All right, so I hope you feel confident kind of getting in here and looking at the books and using them for instruction. You can't mess anything up, so do just mess around with it. And it's fun to talk to your coworkers and see how what they've done, how they've utilized those tools for instruction. All right, so we have kind of gone through everything within the library at 11 o'clock at night, and you can't figure out how to do something. Up in the right-hand corner on every page is a little Show Me How video. If you click on that, it's going to take you through what some simple things on that page to do. Once again, you also have that help button to utilize. All right, to get back to that main page, that dashboard, I could click on this little universe, it'll take me there, but then you can also click on this and the titles will appear up here and you have a little menu. So we go back to the dashboard, we've looked at that library. We're just going to quick toggle through so you can see some of the others. Here's a message center. This is where you and your students once again can message back and forth. The assignments. Okay, this is where you can see every assignment that you have done, and you can go back, you can see how students are working on their assignments. Here's a unit opener on animals. If you can see down here, there's a red button. This means none of my students have gotten onto it. We'll go back and let's see. Click on this cattle one. Okay. Once again, none of my students, if it's yellow, that means my students have started to work on it. Green means they've completed it. Okay. You could also take a student off of an assignment by clicking here. Right here, View Student Notes. Students have the ability to write on sticky notes as well as those close reading notes. If you click on this, you will actually be able to read those notes, which is very cool. There's also the feature to customize student materials. So this is a great way for you to differentiate for your students' individual needs into those assignments. Okay, like I said, you can add students here. You can edit all of your assignments. So this is where all of your assignments are housed. All right, book reviews. We've looked at that. Another feature I do want to point out is this reading log. So you could actually choose a student and get on. And so we're going to look at art. And these are all the students that they've read, or all the books that this student has read, excuse me. So this is great if you're going to use it for nightly reading, especially because here's your log right here of what they've read. You could also use this, like I said, for summer reading. And then throughout the year, you can kind of keep a log of what the student has done, if they've written a review, what type, was this a book that they just individually chose, or was it a book that was part of an assignment? So this is a great new feature that the students have and teachers have as well. Your Manage Students tab, this is where you can group your students very easily by clicking on here and just moving students back and forth. So if you have different levels of groups, we know those groups are very fluid, and so you'll be putting students in and out of those. You can also click on the student's name and get information about their login this way. And then, of course, like we said, the benchmark log as well as the help button. All right, so with that, we'll click back here to the dashboard, but I want to thank you for spending some time learning a little bit more about Benchmark Universe, and hope that this has been helpful and in learning a little bit more about how you can use Benchmark in your instruction. As always, if you have any questions or want to learn more, we do encourage you to reach out to us, as we would love to work with you in getting your students involved in using Benchmark with your instruction. Thank you.